Alright, next segment of my little video. I'm going to compare the Turnigy 9X to the Turnigy 9XR. Some people have said this is not a fair comparison. I beg to differ. Because I've basically got my 9XR based on the reputation and capabilities of the 9X. I would say that it's a very fair comparison. First off, obviously, the first obvious thing is that they're very similar radios. Specifically, they're both 9-channel. In PCM, PPM, they're 8 channels. And they're both capable of doing about the same things. The Turnigy 9XR versus the Turnigy 9X on the back. Take a look. Obvious difference here. As you can see, this is our 9XV2. That's the module that's in this. Well, you pop it out, and it goes absolutely nowhere because of the wire going to the antenna thing. It was actually a very good idea. It's just been poorly implemented. Turnigy 9XR. Antenna connector right here. At the time of this recording, there is no module available for this that can take advantage of that antenna. It's also been said that that antenna has a very limited capability, and that's only 2 decibels, 2 decibel gain. It is in the handle, right up in here, and it's positioned horizontally, I believe, but I will know when I get inside this radio. Ergonomics. 9X is pretty good. 9XR is pretty good. Both have similar problems. One of them is, of course, the trainer switch, which on the 9X and the 9XR is in the same position. Alright. But the problem I've got with the trainer switch is that it kicks back. It kicks out of trainer mode when you let it go. I don't like that. I would rather be able to flip this thing back and forth. So later I'm going to replace these switches in the 9X and the 9XR so that I can just flip them. Just regular flip switches. Some of the differences in the front are pretty obvious. We have 3 potentiometers on the 9X and the 9XR. 1, 2, 3. And on the 9XR, 1, 2, 3. So that's the same. The switch arrangement is the same. Alright. The software is completely different. I have this one here is a bone stock 9XR or 9X. I did not change anything in it because I didn't have to. I didn't need any of the more advanced features that you can get from it because I've only been flying fixed-wing airplanes with it, and I do intend on flying quads and a few other things, so I believe that the 9XR is going to be a better choice for that. My future planes will run on the 9XR, and I also did a few things with in respect that I've got an Orange RX transmitter module. By the way, this is the Turnigy bag. I've got one for the 9X and the 9XR. They're great. These are great bags. I like these. I like the way they feel. They're a little cheap here and there, not too bad. But here's the Orange RX transmitter module. And it fits the 9XR. It will fit the 9X if I took the antenna off. The antenna wire off, threw it in somewhere or whatever. It would fit. But I have no intention of doing that to the 9X. I like it just as it is. It has worked just as it is. It flies my models just as it is. Alright? There were a few things it couldn't do. One of them was not being able to change the module was a bad thing. I couldn't put this module in it without taking apart what I've got. I know there's modifications to this, and I respect that, okay? but not everyone wants to do every modification on everything they get. Alright, I did do the trainer port mod, which makes the 9X so that you can leave the module in while you're using it in the while you're using it in trainer mode or using it in the flight simulator. I've used it extensively in the flight simulator. It's an awesome radio on the flight simulator. Alright, no complaints there. Now today I have been experimenting with the 9XR to see how it runs in the flight simulator too. And I set it up. It's working good. It's all set up the way I want it to. And it's done a great job in the flight simulator, and I'll show you that later. The 9X, great job in the flight simulator. I mean, we're talking about, you know, apples and apples here. Just one's a different type of apple than the other one. That's about it. Now, improvements with the Turnigy 9XR. A couple great things. You got a 12-volt port here. That means I don't have to really put a battery on this thing in order to use it in the flight simulator. I'm going to try that, but not now. It's a charge port. I think it'll probably just run the radio as well. And that I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. When I know, you'll know. Of course, I've got a 3S, little 3S lithium polymer here, but I do have the specific one for this coming in the mail. I think we've all seen the stock Turnigy 9X software, or maybe we haven't. Here is Zippy Flight Max 1800. Works wonderful in the Turnigy 9X. I have no idea if it works in the Turnigy 9XR. So there's only one thing I can say. Let's find out. Come on, you. Get out of there. There we go. Okay. Obviously, can't use the connector I rigged up for it to run the 9XR. Needs the balance port. No problem. Let's see if it fits. It fits. Remember, folks, I have not done this. This is the first time I have ever put this life battery in the Turnigy 9XR. I have no idea if it's going to work, how well it's going to work, anything. Always make sure you get these down as low as possible. They're just a pain. Now a little Zippy Flight Max 1800 snaps right in. Switch is set. Kicked on. I'm sure it's going to give me a battery alarm because I have it set real high. Alert, throttle not idle. Okay. And we've got 10 volts and it's complaining about 10 volts, so we can fix that. So you just go in. Okay. Okay, battery warning, I have it set at 12 volts. I don't know if you can see this. Now default is 9.0. Okay? Once you've got that set, you can exit out of there. Alright? My voltage on my battery is showing at 10.1. On the Turnigy 9X, this will only show at 9.5. Okay, there's something not right with the internal voltage warning on this. I never get it down below 9.4 or so. So there's no worries with having problems with it. Okay? You'll see it says Phoenix. That's because I set it up in the flight simulator. and my controls are all working the way they're supposed to, the way I want them to work. And overall, it's just doing good. And I say there's a little more to be said. Here, one of the things. Everybody's saying something about the gimbals. Now, I have had no trouble with my 9X gimbals. None. Alright. They bounce back a little bit. They vibrate a little bit when you bounce back, okay? That's about it. Now let's see these. See, much better. Frankly, very much better. Somebody's said a little bit about the top positions on them. Frankly, the end positions, I'm not seeing a problem with those. On the 9X, I do think that the absolute top may be a tad more linear as far as the spring tension is concerned, but I really don't see it as a problem. Alright, a lot of us have been looking to see if they had this characteristic stress crack in the case, in the plastic. I see it. It is not a crack. Okay? It is not a crack whatsoever. It's a little bit in the molding. I don't care. Frankly, I really don't care. It's not enough to cause any issues. There's another thing too I've noticed about it. Look at this. It's got feet down here. But it'll never stand up really. Just a hair, just a tiny bit. I mean, you wouldn't want to do this anyway. But the other part about it is that it doesn't sit well on the thing. And there's another reviewer out there that says this is a problem. All kinds of problem. Well, I disagree. It's not a big problem. It's a tiny little issue. Alright? Of course, I shut it off. Push in the module. Alright, so now we got the module in it. This is the Orange RX module. It's just like everybody else's module. Got a little bind on there. Looks like it's working, doing its thing. Alright, sitting it down on the table. Look at this. This is pretty bad. Okay, as far as you want them to sit this down, okay, it's not good. But, and by but I mean ass, there are two little holes here and here. Don't know exactly why they put those there, but I'm thinking it may have been so that you could put something here to hold this radio up. I'm going to think about that for a while and figure out what I want to do. I'm not going to make any rash decisions on what to do about this. I don't see it as a big problem. Alright? Transmitter sitting on your neck anyway with a neck strap. Okay? Or it's in your hands without a neck strap. I flew for years without a neck strap. So, no complaints. Front face is actually glass. Now, as far as beauty is concerned, to be frank with you, neither one of them is any more beautiful than the other. I think they're both about the same as far as looks are concerned. They both look like transmitters. It looks like they tried a little flash and pizzazz on the 9XR, but I don't really see that it's a bad thing. On the other hand, the big thing that I don't like about it is the big fat ready, but nobody else likes it either. Okay, I could leave it there. It wouldn't bother me much. Okay? So it's entirely up to you. What is your preference? What is your situation? What do you like? You like chrome? That's chrome. It's not the shiniest chrome. It's got a little bit of a texture to it. Okay? Oh, by the way, also too, those bolts that hold the screws that hold this down, they are Torx. There's probably an Allen wrench that'll fit in it, but you should use a Torx on it. It looks like a Torx to me. I'm going to check that out later. I'll further investigate. Real hard to tell, though, I'll tell you. Okay. The Zippy Flight Max definitely works in it. Definitely a good battery for this radio. It runs the 9X beautifully. I don't see any reason it won't run the 9XR beautifully. What I'm going to do is put the Zippy Flight Max back in where it belongs. And the little connector I made on it. There we go, beautiful. There you go. And Turnigy's back, and it says 9.5 on there. On the other one, you know what it said already. Generally, I'm not going to use the Zippy Flight Max in the 9XR. And I'll tell you why. Because I have the right battery coming for it, the safety protected Turnigy battery. Now, another common question that I have seen out on the boards is, what else can that battery be used for? And I've been thinking about that. And I know what it can be used for. I know one other thing it could easily be used for. Has anybody got a 12-volt soldering iron or a 12-volt Dremel? Because I do. I have both. So I'm going to make an adapter plug so that I can plug that 9XR battery into a Dremel and into my soldering iron. That means out in the field, if I don't have power, I can still do what I want to do. Alright. This is the little El Cheapo 1300. I'm going to use it in here for a while. Until the new one comes. When the new battery comes, I'll charge it up and put it in. I definitely do not want to attempt to charge this battery off of the charge plug on the bottom. No way. Ain't happening. Don't want to do it. Don't feel comfortable with it. Not a chance. Overall, now for the next big question. Is the Turnigy 9X better than the 9XR? Or is the Turnigy 9XR better than the Turnigy 9X? And I have to say, it depends. Stock firmware, if you're using stock firmware in the Turnigy 9X and you never use another module in it, it is fine. No complaints, great range, great capability, can do lots of things, no complaints. Okay? It had a couple quirks. It has a quirk with the trainer switch. It has a quirk with the trainer port. Okay, if you leave the module in. If the module's taken out or it's just pulled out and it's sit there dangling, it'll work. The 9XR does not have that problem. Okay, so which one's better? It's not a matter of better, it's which one's better for your purposes. You flying fixed wing, some helicopter, a handful of helicopters, even quads, even with the stock firmware, the 9X will do the job. Alright, the 9XR will do it a little better because it has more capabilities. The software is much better from what I can tell. And so far I haven't run into any of the known quirks in the software that other people were talking about. So I've so far no problem with the 9XR. If you were to if you have a 9X, do you need to run out and get a 9XR? Probably not. Okay. The modifications for the 9X are not that bad, but you do have to know how to solder, or you want to have to take apart your radio if you want to put the upgraded firmware in and things like that. And this thing, the 9XR, you don't have to even open the case to do that. Okay, it has a port here that you plug into. It's got 6 pins. Plug it straight into your computer. Don't know if you can see that, probably not. And you can flash this with any firmware you wish. And that's nice. In order to do that with the 9X, you have to put a connector inside of it, and you have to solder it onto certain pins on the board, or you got to get what they call a Smarty Parts board. It's a board that's not soldered, and I don't trust things that are not soldered on. It looks like what they did inside the 9XR was just basically put the plug in there and soldered it straight to the board, so it might have been an afterthought. Either way, it doesn't matter because it's there. Some people were saying some problems with the switches here. I didn't have any problem maneuvering around with them. I do agree there's a fella out there who put some micro switches under here that made it work a lot better, and I might do that anyway. It just depends on how I feel about it. Okay, the switches over on the right hand side, they feel fine. They don't feel like they're going to catch or anything, and there were some people who had problems with this thing at cold weather. I'll tell you frankly, if it's below freezing, I normally don't fly anyway. I fly the simulator at that point. But I won't say that I wouldn't fly at those times and those temperatures. So I'll take and try it, and I'll freeze this thing later and see how it does. See if the buttons stick or not. I don't think they will. I think they may have corrected that problem because this thing doesn't. It looks like there's some leeway there, just a tiny bit. Okay, so I would say it's possible that they have already corrected the problem. Right? Not a big deal. It wasn't a big deal in the first place, and a lot of people were really upset about their radio not being able to operate in sub-zero weather. I don't understand that. I don't fly in that weather. You know, I don't fly in the rain. I don't fly in the snow. Well, I might fly in the snow, so you know, who knows? But I don't normally do those things, so it's probably never going to come up. The 9X had its problems with buttons. A lot of people had problems where these buttons wouldn't even work. They are clickier than the 9XR, admittedly. And the knobs are better, I would say. Frankly, that's one of the things. I think that these little anodized aluminum knobs are actually better quality. Do I want to change them from the 9X to the 9XR? No. Anyway, the Turnigy 9X was still a very tough act to follow. Alright? It gave us a lot of capability of a lot more expensive radios in a very small package, in a very small price. Alright? The 9XR is doing the same thing, but it's giving us more capability. The modules, the programmability, the better firmware built into it. You know, so did they beat the 9X? Nah. But they definitely kept in line. It's a newer model. It's just like buying this is a 2010 and this is a 2013. That's all it is. Okay, and they're very similar. And someday we may say, oh wow, that old 9X, and that thing's still being used. Who knows? Okay, so it's all right. Anyway, next one of these videos, I'm going to run this thing in the flight simulator, see what happens, and I'll show you guys the flight simulator. Take care. I'm signing off.